Aloha. I wanted to do a quick video and expand upon the last two videos and speak in reference to, in a sense, the New World Order or agenda that was pretty much kicked off a little over 500 years ago, and really take more of a psychological and energetic perspective in reference to consciousness and the collective consciousness and the individual consciousness and experience as a whole. When you can understand that basically this whole culture, or what is called culture and civilization, which is not civilization, this is a mind control program. As easily as you can understand that the indigenous people were existing happily engaged with nature, tuned directly in to the harmonics of the earth plane before the colonial system took root and started to slaughter and enslave the melanated peoples across the earth plane. Before that happened, there was a color grid, energetic color grid, that existed from a perspective of harmonics that has consistently been watered down. You can see from one perspective the idea of religion taking over the natural connections of spirit, the idea of the university system taking over the storytelling from the elders, the wisdom of the elders, and the ancient technology that existed in ancient Egypt, from everywhere from ancient Egypt all over to Machu Picchu, everywhere that this system has not allowed itself to understand, or at least share with the populace that its understanding of it, in order to maintain a frequency, a lack of harmonics. This is the perspective I take when I'm looking at how this system is really affecting, not from within the box, but from outside of the box. Anything involving the idea of the New World Order as it is today, anything involving like a reactionary or emotional response to transhumanism or CERN or the politics, that's exactly what the system needs to stay alive. This is why they have to talk about Trump every day. This is why the entire system has to bombard you with information on the local news, on the mainstream news, on the alternative news, on your comedy shows, in your movies, on your radio, in your social media. Everything is to distract you and suck you into the system. Once you are sucked into the system, then that creates your vibratory existence as a whole, individually and collectively. And then your personality or your character or your peer group, everything from your peer group to your culture, chooses for you who and what you are based upon your surroundings. I just wanted to express the importance of realizing how deep we have to go in order to sort of kind of spark just a seed of perspective in reference to like our children being manipulated through the public education system as the future. Like when I'm doing these videos, these are not necessarily for the adults. Like these are for the children who are being led by the adults, so that because the older you get energetically, to where, meaning more, the more you lock yourself into what you believe in and your reality, you've already chosen your life. You've already lived the majority of your life, and the actual shift or change that's going to happen on a collective scale really exists within the hearts and minds of the children, and also the child mind of the grown-ups, in a sense. So taking that perspective actually roots it in deeper and sees how far we really need to go. If you stay on a political scene or a political sense of engaging in your reality, you're really just keeping the system alive and falling subject to the system as a whole. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to extend it. It's just like Democrats and Republicans. But when we take the stance of understanding how deep this goes into the colonial system, into the spiritual warfare perspective of it all, and how long this story's been going, like when somebody says the New World Order today, people can understand like the Bilderbergs, the bankers, the corporations, the globalists, the technological, the new religion, new age religions, the United Nations and all that control. That's all existing on top of a root system that goes back centuries. And until we root ourselves in the precursor to those roots centuries ago, we won't be able to expand outside of that box. So this is why I reference like all the alternative news and all that stuff as being another mind control grid and another version of controlled opposition. The seeds that are being planted are seeds of empowerment. The seeds that are being planted in the reactionary grid that is placed out there with this whole new age space and this Young Turks so-called revolution and Alex Jones so-called revolution with Trump and Bernie and all this stuff. This is not for the people at all. They don't reference anything. You can see Obama mentioning Colin Kaepernick right now, but won't say anything about the Native Americans who are protesting the pipeline companies and who are attacked with dogs and pepper spray. This idea, this is how the mind control program works, by distracting you and making you think about what's important, because they have put their individuals, they put their puppets in front of you to trigger your emotional heartstrings to affect consciousness as a whole. So what I really wanted to reference was how deep those threads go, how long we've been existing over generations in that sort of watered down version of humanity, watered down version of consciousness, a watered down version of harmonics, a watered down version of connection to nature, a watered down version of human nature, a watered down version of love, a watered down version of art. When you can understand for a moment the well, before I get into the art space, even love has been manipulated into this artificial version of connection. Majority is based upon the physical observations of each other, never going into the depths of character or the spiritual love, the soul plane connections that we have. And even if people do relate that, to a connection and say, oh yeah, well, we're attracted because of something else, then, but if you as the experiencer aren't really going into the depths of yourself to really know what that really means, then you're not really doing anything. You're still existing in that watered down version of reality. So this is why we get bombarded with this whole marriage programming, like She Said Yes, like these celebrities and these YouTubers and all this stuff. It's about getting in relationships, and with all these online dating services and how many different ones there are. It's all about like to just meet up and then see what happens. There's no natural essence there. It's just like it's robotic pretty much. It's turning the human connection into robots. There's nothing natural there. And then when you hook up with an individual, it's just commercialized. It's about the diamond commercials. It's about the way, even like a lot of people mentioned before, I can't remember who exactly mentioned the word love being used in like hot dog commercials and McDonald's commercials. Love sells underwear and bratwurst and shit like that. Like, it's just ridiculous what love has been watered down to, what relationships have been watered down to, what spiritual connections have been watered down to. But this is the norm of the new world, the idea of the new world that is no different than your idea of a spiritual connection to the Most High or nature or your family or culture at all, when you understand what Christopher Columbus initially did to the indigenous people, which is just an example of what happened to all over Africa, from the Portuguese to Spain to Norway, Great Britain, Belgium, how they just sucked the life out of Africa over time, and then in 1492 they just moved it over to the Americas. This whole idea, this is exactly what is happening today. Like, YouTube trending is basically smallpox blankets. This is no different. It's the same thing. It's like, oh, here are some blankets to keep you warm, to keep basic like your information, to keep you intelligent, like the public education system. But this stuff is laced with smallpox that is energetically genociding the entire population, and we we don't understand, we can't even comprehend that this people or anything could actually do that. It's actually less than an animalistic behavior. It's going into the darker energies of experience for control. Like, I saw an image the other day where two blind people were at a water point, and they couldn't find the lever to turn the water on, and a monkey came over and helped them turn the water on for them. So when you understand like the other side of animalistic behaviors, and then you can see the other side of humanity, it's actually worse off when you go into the psychological manipulation of entire populations to enslave themselves, to install sickness and disease, to genetically modify baby food, to genetically modify entire populations, to invent diseases, to install disease, AIDS, into Africa, to install the Planned Parenthood programs into the inner cities in order to quietly massacre the entire population of melanated peoples. This is not a new thing that is happening in the world as we know it. And stuff like the globe model and CERN, transhumanism, this stuff is just, it's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the focus. It's the movie, the actual movies, like popcorn and candy and soda of the movie, but the actual theater and the movies that led up to the prequels to that movie are actually more important to really realize if you want to address anything individually or collectively from an empowered perspective. If you go at it from within the movie reel, it's basically like punching the TV screen. That's what this controlled opposition is about. And this whole watered down version of revolution, and this whole watered down version of understanding your reality and getting your information from Obama or these university professors and all this stuff. You might as well be punching the TV screen. Until we understand the roots of this situation, this is why I get so irritated with the so-called flat earth community, or flat earth so-called top brass, is because they are willfully keeping the conversations based upon the egoic versions of understanding one particular perspective, as if that's it. It's like, once everybody knows about the flat earth, everything is going to be fixed. That's some simple ass shit, and that's just walking people into a trap. You really don't think that the so-called powers that be haven't already calculated some kind of response factor to that? They already have Neil deGrasse Tyson joking about it. Just like that thing goes where first they joke about it, then they beat you down, or first they ignore it. However it goes. It's like ignorance, ignoring it, and then joking about it, and then something else, and then finally accepting it. This is the joking about it part. We've already passed the joking about it part when Neil deGrasse Tyson went on TV and started doing all that shit. So whatever comes after that, and then after that, it's basic math to see that they have already understood this algorithm and are really just playing it out over time to make the perfect move at the perfect time. And it's not disconnected from the controlled oppositions like Alex Jones and the Young Turks and Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. This shit is all factored in the same TV storyline. So if you are calling yourself top brass and you're just building your ego up, talking about, well, we know about the flat earth and we're all about love and light and I don't see anything wrong with this, and being totally positive and all that other shit. If you are only addressing the perspectives from one side, then you are setting people up for failure. Not just yourself. If you have a following, you're setting other people up for failure. That's where I have a fucking problem with it. Is an issue there when you think that this conversation is only about the globe model. That's basically talking about the dirt and not talking about the actual experiencers on that dirt, on that earth. The human engagement and the storyline that's added up to the globe model is more important than priding yourself in the fact that you understand somewhat that the earth is not a sphere, but is in fact something else. And then stopping there, getting off of that train of expansion and just saying, well, this is it. And whatever happens after this is just going to be, it'll just be whatever it is based upon the owners. Putting your power in the ownership perspective is the same slave mentality. And if you have thousands of followers, tens of thousands of followers buying into that thought process, then there's something wrong with that. And if you don't see that yourself as the individual pumping that information out, then other people will help you see that shit. Because other people might have a problem with that. Because this is, like I said, this is not for the grown-ups. This is for our children. If you are buying in, are waiting or hoping for the mainstream media to pick up the flat earth idea or mentality or whatever you think it's going to happen based upon a reactionary perspective, a sort of an adoption of the flat earth by the mainstream media, if that is what you consider to be the end all be all of this whole shift, then yes, you are part of the problem, because you are setting up our children and our future generations for a deeper layer of enslavement. And only if only you had expanded your own perspectives outside of your fucking bogus ass egos of priding yourself and fighting people who are still thinking about the globe as if to, and defending the globe and all this other stuff and defending the university system. If you stay in that space, that's when it gets out of hand, and that's when you become part of the problem. You're spinning your wheels. And if you are spinning your wheels and you have tens of thousands of followers, then you are also spinning the wheels of other individuals because of your egoic perspectives. And the only way to keep that program going is to distract. You're doing the same thing. You're distracting individuals from expanding, and distracting other individuals from expanding, and also empowering the enslavement system as a whole. So yes, there is an issue there. And it's not all about love and light. We have to understand what is at the foundation of the globe model. What is at the foundation of this colonial psychological mind control program that led up to people being enslaved by ideas, illusions. The globe model is just a watered down version of connection to nature, humanity's connection to nature. So if you understand that exists, then, and you're only focusing on the individuals who are talking about the globe and wanting to say that, instead of going into the energies outside of that, the empowered space of the what exactly the so-called they are trying to hide that exists inside the collective and the individual empowered perspectives, then there's a problem there. So initially what I wanted to speak on was the idea of watering down, like I spoke on the watering down of love and relationships, overall watering down consciousness. Now you see the artistic perspectives. One version of reality is taking the arts out of schools, which is what happened to me when I was in school 16 years ago, before 16 years ago. So that version of reality existed and has been existing over decades, consistently watering down our children, who are now a lot of grown-ups today. It affects the entire human, the organic human evolution process of expansion. It's like expanding consciousness. As you wake up every day, you learn something new that you didn't know yesterday. These programs, social media, all this stuff is carefully calibrated not only to water you down, but to program you into a system. And how many artists, how many painters that are out there right now locked into a desk job, a secretary job? How many secretaries are out there that are musicians? How many coders, people doing computer graphics and coding, that are pianists at their heart? How many managers at the fast food restaurant are singers? And when you multiply that times everybody on the earth plane underneath the fiat currency and birth certificate maritime admiralty system, when you multiply that times this moment, and then multiply this moment and everybody who would be, knowing that they're hiding technology and hiding free energy and hiding our what would get us out of this enslavement system when 75+% of the jobs out there don't even need to be existing if these programs didn't exist to keep the so-called powers that be in power. So how does that, so multiply the individuals, 7 billion artists, whatever your art is, now working at Walmart. Now multiply that times 5 years, times 10 years, times 20 years. Multiply that Walmart times entire generations over and over and over again, and then multiply that Walmart watered down mentality into consciousness as a whole, and see what happens from the last 500 years up until the industrial age, up until the civil rights movement, up until 9/11, up until today. All being on purpose, including the globe model, including all these doggy treats we call technology, and smartphones and smart water and smart whatever. That is the control grid as a whole, including these Hollywood celebrities, including and especially them, because they are the ones that make you believe in this shit to begin with. This is how you believe in this stuff. By Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. They set the stage for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And this is happening to our kids. For one moment, step outside of yourself and realize that you are like a 5-year-old child trying to understand what this system is really about, so that your future grandchildren won't have to be enslaved by a system. You would have to go very deep into understanding who and what you are in order to really grasp the roots of this entire scenario. And if you are waiting on the mainstream media to adjust to the flat earth, or whatever it is that the so-called they are getting ready to do next, then yes, you are a part of the problem. Whatever word you want to call it, whatever you want to call shill or psyop or CIA, whatever people are calling it, doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that this story is a lot deeper. It's not about any one individual. And if you're punching the television, then you're just spinning your wheels. And if you have tens of thousands of followers or even millions of followers, then you're actually engaged in spinning the wheels and helping other people punch the TV, expecting consciousness to shift. No, they'll just make another TV. They'll just make a flat screen TV and sell you a flat screen TV because the old tube TV has gone out of style. And now that you got a flat screen TV, now you can just punch the flat screen TV until they give you a curved TV or a holographic image TV for you to punch thin air, and then suck you into a virtual reality so that you can punch thin air thinking that you are punching something or doing something, engaging in your reality. No, you've just been sucked into a virtual reality on purpose. This shit is not new. It's ancient. And if you don't come from the perspective of the ancient space, then you are missing the entire point and you are punching the television of illusion. The information has to come from within you. has to come from within that you, that is the human you, that is directly related to your culture, your ancestors, your genetic code, your soul purpose, your music, your harmonics, that is natural outside of the box grid. It's the only way some actual change will be made outside of the box of enslavement. Anything else in response or reaction to the program itself is going to empower the system as a whole. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this video, and really just focus on the essence of the smaller things that matter. It's the small things, like taking the art out of the system and how that affects consciousness as a whole. How they were taking the art out of the schools, and first of all, the school existing as it does as a mind control program to begin with, but taking it a step further and removing the arts from that mind control program, because it's basically removing the tools that will allow individuals to easily expand outside of that program, and how that affects consciousness over time. Watering down humanity to this black and white version, when there's a beauty in our diversity. There's a beauty in the different cultures and different stories that existed of the ancient cosmologies and the ancient. This is why we have our differences. That's the main point. Why we have our differences. So the people who have all these love and light perspectives from this new age artificial version of oneness and all this other bullshit that's out there, to distract you and to make you feel like the change is happening because there's some kind of peaceful mentality to something that exists outside of a obviously destructive grid. Just because it's not 100% destructive anymore, and now it's 90% destructive, that doesn't mean it's real change, because that's how the system works. It sells you 100% destruction, and then it only shifts back to 95 to 90% or 85% not destruction and as destructive anymore, but still destructive. And then you think that's change, and then it shifts back and forth, 100 to 90, 100 to 90, 100 to 90, still existing within a destructive intelligence program. And since you believe that it's intelligence, you believe it's changed, and your belief structures actually manifest it into this reality, into this consciousness, in reaction to the system, the destructive intelligence system as a whole. Never tapping into your creative intelligence, never tapping into your spirit or your soul. That's the actual essence. That's the heart of the child space that will get the individuals and the collective, not only outside of the box program, but get the individual and the collective to expand into their empowered space, to reconnect with nature, natural law, the ancestors, your genetic code, your soul purpose. Everything would shift. Relationships, connections, art, music, harmonics, individually and collectively, everything would shift. It will not shift if you remain in the victimization program of a self-destructive defense mechanism, and just allowing the destructive intelligence to expand into, like, the same thing goes in reference to, like, the so-called flat earth top brass wanting the mainstream media to pick up flat earth and then thinking that's going to be it, that's cool, that's it. No, this has to happen from the inside out, the actual people. So just punching globe believers in the face is not helping the system. That's just, or helping the expansion of consciousness as a whole. That's actually setting up and empowering the artificial change system as a whole. Same thing goes for transhumanism and all that other stuff, CERN, everything. From understanding, like, the same thing goes with the Mandela effect. If you're only focusing on the Mandela effect from a CERN perspective, then you are empowering the CERN perspective and the control grid. If you're only focusing on the Mandela effect from the perspective of the actual things that are shifting, instead of understanding what it means to see this stuff shift, to have an idea of something change, what that means in reference to the collective consciousness, and not get trapped into that reality, but actually expand it into to where that stuff really doesn't even matter anymore, because you start to connect with what's real, the essence of what already was and still is inside and outside of us. So that's basically it. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, from All My Relations, peace, love, and harmony.